I just want to say happy birthday to my amazing wife, Helene. You are the best. Happy birthday.
Man, that's so nice. I'm sure that she's really going to enjoy when she listens to this and hear that really heartfelt happy birthday.
Oh, there's no chance she's ever going to hear it. She never listened to the show. But listen, it makes me seem a lot more caring to all the listeners out there.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
I'm ready. I'm rolling.
2. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. You know how excited I am to have you here each and every week. And I want to thank all of the new listeners to the show and all the folks that have been following us over the last 2+ years. We've been doing this great No Vacancy Podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. Man, has it been exciting. We got another great show for you today, which is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy technology platform that thousands of hotels are using to make more money. Go right now to GetRevenueResults.com. That's GetRevenueResults.com to watch a great video on how management teams can collaborate and make more money.
What was that website again?
What's that?
What was that website again?
Website again? We got Jeff Polly here. Producer Jeff is joining me today. But Jeff, I know you want to hear it again. That's GetRevenueResults.com. You think you could go there right now?
I'm on it. I'm getting ready to get revenues.
All right. Excellent. Well, while Jeff is getting revenued, I also want to thank Red Roof for becoming a premier sponsor of our show. Make sure you check out their ad. And, man, we've got such great stuff going on. Don't forget to check out our Checking In with Anthony and Glenn show, which I co-host with Hotel Impossible's Anthony Melchiori. And, of course, the Amazing Hotel Design podcast. Our newest episode with Ron Swidler, a principal over at Getty's, is out now. Other episodes include Raul Ayal, the CEO of Virgin Hotels, and Larry Traxler, the SVP of Global Design, with all of Hilton out there. Lots of great content for you guys. Lots of good stuff. And man, did I have a great time the other week at our live podcast taping where we did a live episode of the Tech Show and a live episode of Checking In with Anthony and Glenn with Jay Stein, the CEO of Dream Hotel Group. You're not going to want to miss any of that. All right. So we've got one life. Let's blaze on. Jeff, what do you got in store for us today?
Yeah, Glenn, I just edited those live podcasts. And I got to say, you had some serious energy in those.
Hey, thanks.
You were fired up.
I was totally fired up over there, but you know how it is with me. Whenever you put me in front of an audience, I get the feeling from them that I just got to go over the top every single time.
Yeah, well, mission accomplished.
Well, I hope everyone loved those live podcasts. I know I had such a fun time doing it, Jeff. It's something I really want to do a lot more of. And you know, you and I will both be back next year at AHOA because once again, we're the official podcast of AHOA's convention, which will be this April in San Diego.
Man, those are super fun, and it's always super fun to do those live podcasts because you get a sense of, you know, when you're interviewing people right in front of you, you actually really pull out who they are and what they're talking about. So I'm excited for AHOA. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, but we just got to count down till April. Man, the way that this year has been going so fast, it's going to be here before we know it, I think.
San Diego, coincidentally, that's on our list today.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of lists, we're going to be talking about the best places for conventions this year. And this list was brought to my attention by Chetan Patel. I want to thank Chetan for passing that along. As soon as I saw this, I was thinking maybe I could just share it on social media. But you know what, Jeff? I thought this was really worthy of us having one of our talks about.
I think it's super worthy. I mean, well, considering I'm in the meetings business and have been for almost 20 years, every month I find out where I'm going to go, and if it's a new exciting city or if it's one of the cities that I've been to for the last, 20 years about 3,000 times and am bored of it. So,
yep.
You know, new exciting cities are fun, but, you know, when I do go to my normals, I have my normal eating spots and I have my normal things to do. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to Phoenix. I know exactly what taco shop I'm going to hit on the way from the airport to the resort.
Yeah, man. I really wish I remember the name of that great taco joint we went to. It was about 4 years ago in Phoenix. I know we had a really terrific time. Thought it was absolutely terrific. I got a business card from them. Even posted a picture on Facebook, and I can't seem to find it anymore.
Yeah, and now that I live on the West Coast, I don't need to hit In and Out every single time I'm on a West Coast meeting.
That's very true. For me, it's still something I have to do every single time. I mean, hey, I'll go straight from the airport right to the In and Out because I'm serious.
I get it, and that's probably why I've gained 40 pounds since living out in Ventura.
Yeah, well, to be fair, only 39 pounds is probably In and Out related. You do have those great burritos right by your house too.
Yeah, there's a few things to be said about California, In and Out, and Mexican food.
Yeah, you got that right. So, all right, what are some of the best cities for conferences in 2018, Jeff Polly?
All right, so we were talking about this list right before we were on the show, and it's the top 11 because number 10 comes in at a tie, and you and I were talking about it. It's a little weird. Number 10, Phoenix, Arizona, which makes total sense. I mean, it's got tons of big resorts to hold big meetings and whatnot and everything. And the city that it tied with was a little strange to us because I've never been there for a meeting. I have been there, but I've never been there for a meeting. And you said you've never been there.
That's
so
right.
Coming in at a tie with Phoenix for number 10 is Columbus, Ohio. And
that's surprising, Jeff. I don't even understand. Now, I can't say it's not a top 10 city. I just don't know. You and I, between us, 40 years on the road, I don't know if we've ever been to an event in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, well, and even the list says that it may not be the best destination for large conference as it only has 2 large hotels in the area, but it makes up for that in other metrics. And basically what this list was rounded about was crime rate, which is a concern, but it's also talking about, the ease of entertainment destinations and dining destinations, and then pricing and medium-sized hotel, which apparently Columbus has a decent size for. So, I guess, again, I stated it earlier, if I want to go somewhere new and exciting, and I wouldn't call Columbus exciting, but if I want to go somewhere new and I'm looking for a meeting destination, hey, maybe Columbus should be on my list because it's on this list.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so hey, everyone out there, let's try putting together a small meeting out there in Columbus, Ohio. I'm pretty sure that's Red Roof's home base, as a matter of fact.
I would also say it's gotta have an appeal for being centrally located, which has to help it out a little bit. Whereas Phoenix, a little bit harder to get there for your East Coasters, and especially number 9, really hard for your East Coasters to get there. So maybe Columbus is a good choice for that small, short meeting.
Yeah, so let's talk about number 9. What's big number 9 in this that you're seeing here?
Number 9 on the list is Portland, Oregon. And I love Portland. I think it's a great city. It's got a lot to do. It's got a Voodoo Donuts if you want to wait in line for an hour. But it's far away. It's hard to get to. So I'm sure that probably had, part of why it got to number 9, but it's a great beer town. It's got a lot of things to do, a lot of things to see.
Lots of food trucks to enjoy the food at.
Food trucks.
I love that about it. I mean, you could go, there's like parking lots that you could go and you park your car for your event, but then the whole thing is a ring of food trucks all around the parking lots, which I think is super cool and super yummy.
Yeah, well, I think they stole that from Austin.
They may have. I wonder if Austin's going to be on this list.
Austin is not on this list, and that's a big one to me. But
I don't know. It might be. It just might be. But you'll have to stick around, listeners, and find out what's next. But go on about Portland.
Portland, check it out. Again, I would say that it's more of a medium to small meeting sized city, not necessarily competing with the Phoenixes or some of the other, cities on our list. But what a great location. If you can get everybody out there, it's a great town. The downtown is condensed to where you can have a lot of life and entertainment while you're doing your business.
Yep, I absolutely love Portland. I love the vibe of Portland. I love the people in Portland. I love the aesthetic of Portland, and I love that Pacific Northwest weather as well. Even though it's a little dark and dreary sometimes, it feels great. It feels right. Totally matches who I am as a person. Love it. But what about the next one, Jeff? What's up?
So number 8 is Houston, Texas, and I think we're in agreement. Houston just isn't, to me, the best city. Nothing against the city. I've had some fun in Houston, but for meetings and conferences, I've never really been that wowed.
No, I haven't really been that wowed either. It's fine. It's nothing special. Again, nothing against you, Houston. You're great people. You got a great town. I just don't want to be there for a particular conference. Not loving that.
Even my dog doesn't like Houston for conference.
No, I mean, seriously, she's just barking her distaste about the entire thing, which is, understandable.
Yeah. So, but in this list, it says, Houston is a great place for medium-sized, conferences and events and meetings and whatnot. They only have 9 large hotels, so it's not necessarily the place that you want to go if you've got a big conference that you're trying to, get a bunch of people in there. But hey, this list really likes it. Puts it 8 on the list.
Yeah, excellent.
Hey, number 7.
All right, so we've got Columbus, Phoenix, Portland, and Houston. What's number 7 on the list, Jeff?
City I love, and honestly, one of the biggest regrets of my life that I never lived there, and I'm insanely jealous that you did. New York, New York.
Yeah, one hell of a town, The Bronx is up, the battery's down. And let me tell you something, Jeff. I cannot stand events in New York. Not because of New York, not because of the events, because of that crappy Javits Center, which I despise. I wish they would just blow the damn thing up and build a real convention center, not try to put lipstick on a pig like they did the last couple of years ago. It's not fun. It's not a great environment to be in, and I cannot stand the attitude of the people that work there, especially the folks that are helping you set up your booths and take down your booths. They are stinks.
Tell us how you really feel, Glenn.
All right, how I really feel. Hey, love it. It's awesome. It's my hometown. I will say I'm a little bit prejudiced here because as a New Yorker, especially when I lived in Brooklyn, I never liked events in New York, mostly because I'm a New Yorker. I like to go different places. And when I'm at an event in New York, I just don't feel really settled. I just don't feel like it's an event for me. I'm so used to traveling on the road.
Yeah, well, and I got to say, as an outsider, someone that's never lived in the city, I will say that I love coming to New York for an event.
Yeah, totally.
But looking at it through the eyes of the person holding the event, I got to say that every time I go to an event in New York, there's so many things to do. There are so many people that you know. There's so many opportunities to set up other business meetings that don't necessarily pertain to the meeting that you're there, that I see all these attendees coming around and they're in the meeting room and then they're out of the meeting room because they've got a dinner with so-and-so buddy all the way downtown and they got to catch a cab or an Uber or whatever. So to me, New York, great city, fantastic city. We all love New York, right? Too many distractions.
Too many distractions, and it's the same thing as some of the other big cities that we see. If I'm an event organizer, I want to find ways to have a nice backdrop, but not one that's so nice that it's distracting from the goal of my meeting. And that's getting people to learn, spend their money with the vendors and the sponsors that are there, and to network and create great relationships. And a place like New York, and I see it every year at like the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, for example, everybody does the event at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square for a little bit here, a little bit there, but then they all disperse and they go all to their dinners, and trying to make meaningful connections at some of the cocktail receptions that they have is not as effective because the folks are off doing their own thing.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we're talking about this list is because you and I kind of thought it was a little controversial. I mean, New York, number 7, great city. We understand why it's on the list. Number 6, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not understanding Atlanta, Georgia now. However, I mentioned with New York, and you feel the same way. There's so many distractions in New York. Not so much with downtown Atlanta, except of course if I'm going to Gus's Fried Chicken, that rules for me. But other than that, you know, every event I go to every single year, I go to the Hunter Investment Conference every single March at the Marriott that they have there. I don't feel compelled to go anywhere because there's nowhere to go in downtown.
Maybe they count getting lost because of how many Peachtree streets there are as a form of entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, all right. But I will say, if we're going to look at it in that way, Atlanta does make a lot of sense for a city because people aren't compelled to go out and explore. I mean, what are they going to do? Go check out the world of Coca-Cola? You know,
yeah,
it's just...
You know, I will say, and I'm going to make an argument for why it's on the list. You know, it's very competitive as far as pricing goes. So you got that. And here's a little tip that I learned, and I'll sum this up in a little bit of a story. I was actually at a meeting in Atlanta, and we finished the meeting, and everybody was going to the hotels, and my clients were going to to the airport. Mm-hmm. My client were all hopping into a car, and they said, "Hey, Jeff, do you want to join us?" And I had already planned on taking the train to the airport, and I said, "No, I'm cool. I'm going to take the train, and I guarantee I'll beat you there." And I got on the train, and 20 minutes later I was at the airport, and I think they showed up. We were kind of all on the same flights, and I think they showed up about 30 minutes after me. So a little trick, public transportation there that has gotten way better. So if you're doing a meeting and you're in Buckethead, take the train. It's super easy and convenient, and you're going to save a bunch of money by going to Atlanta instead of going to New York.
Absolutely. And I've never ever been to an event in Atlanta where I took a car service. I always take the MARTA because it is so quick. It is so effective. You're zipping down the middle of the highway. You see the traffic on both sides. You're laughing, and it only costs something like $2.75. You're downtown really, really quickly. I find it super easy to get around. I love Atlanta for that. The events are easy, and again, no distractions, which makes it a pretty good conference city. All right, what's number 5 there, Jeff?
The city that we all know, love / hate. Las Vegas.
Danger. Yeah, boy, Las Vegas, Nevada. Good old Sin City and land of danger for anyone daring to have a conference there. Will your attendees survive? Will they be able to show up without a hangover the next day? I'm not confident. I see it every single time. A lot of glassy-eyed folks first thing in the morning, Jeff.
Yeah, coming from a meeting standpoint, I think it used to be that Vegas had kind of a corner on the market because all these other big cities, the Chicagos, the New Yorks, the San Franciscos, whatnot, they all had what you were talking about at Javits, the frustration of dealing with these people and loading in their booths and whatnot. And Vegas has kind of turned that corner now too.
Right, really.
In my experience, it's tough to work with the people that are there for your support network to plan and organize these meetings, and it's gotten worse over the years. So not only do you have, in my eyes, the distractions, but what can be the distractions, those can be great. You've obviously got insane amounts of talents to woo your attendees, but it's pretty hard to do a meeting there. It's not as easy as it used to be, in my opinion.
No, and you see some of the, some of the major events that take place there. And I'm telling you, a lot of people are not even getting to the trade show floor because of all the incredible distractions, both in the evenings and even during the day. I mean, just Mandalay Pool is a pretty big distraction, for example. Lots of distractions. Okay, 4 more on this list. I'm loving 3 of these cities. What's number 4?
You were right. I didn't even read the list before we started talking about it. But Austin, Texas, number 4 on the list. And
yeah, man.
I got to say, I'm in agreement with this one.
This is a great freaking town for a conference. Though I will say I was just at an event last week. This past week that was in Austin, Texas, and I never actually got to go to Austin, Texas. So it was so painful for me, Jeff, being so close to amazing barbecue, yet stuck at a resort. Not that I should complain because it was a beautiful resort, but still.
We talked about this on text, Glenn. You make time. You make time. Did you hear the dog? She just said, you make time for barbecue. She's pretty upset you didn't get her ribs.
I know. Yeah, really difficult.
Yeah,
in Texas, no brisket. I don't even want to talk about it.
Austin, what's not to love? I mean, the food trucks that we talked about, the amazing music in the area, the plethora of off-site venues that you can have dinners and parties and live bands and whatnot. Anybody that has the gumption to plan a meeting there, I love. I mean, it's a great place to have a meeting, and I always enjoy it, which is crazy for me to say about anything in Texas, but I love flying to Austin and working for a couple days. It's fun.
Yeah, Austin is a great town, from large scale events to smaller, more intimate events. I've never not loved going to Austin, especially because of my deep love for all different types of music. You just walk down. I always forget the street numbers, like 8th Street or something like that, right? And you could hear country or rock and jam band music, all these different genres of music from location to location to location, and really just enjoy yourself with all these incredible up and coming musicians. Jeff, number 3 on the list. Oh boy, this is a tough one to really love.
This is a tough one, but I can see why it's on the list, and I
agree.
Can see why it's number 3. But Orlando, Florida.
Orlando. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, Jeff. We both could understand it. It's relatively inexpensive for a conference destination for folks that are putting on events. Also, if you're doing it at the convention center, there's plenty of hotels up and down International Drive, which makes it really easy and convenient for everyone. Plus, it's just far enough away from the theme parks that people won't be distracted from them during the event, typically before or after. But I will tell you one thing that I've loved about going to Orlando, Florida, Jeff, is some of these events are so big they actually rent out either the entire theme park or certain lands within theme parks, and that makes for a fun, memorable, exciting type of an event.
That makes for a super fun night for everybody, but I'm going to go on the negative because
go for it.
I used to live in the area. The airport is a total pain to get to and get from, and I think it's gotten a little bit better with the advent of Lyft and Uber, but I always hated going to Orlando because I hated the transportation. It was downright awful to get from the airport to some of these Disney properties or some of the areas out in Kissimmee or even iDrive. So that's my biggest negative for Orlando.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Myers transportation folk have wrapped up the entire city, so the travel prices are a little bit artificially inflated. Thank goodness for Uber and Lyft trying to create a little checks and balance. For those of you who don't know, Myers owns the cabs, they own the buses, they even operate Disney's Magical Express. I'd like to know what kind of deal they got and who they bribed or have something on to be able to be such a dominant stranglehold on all public transportation in that city. It's crazy.
It almost makes me not want to go to that city whenever I have to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But, to be fair, I haven't been to a major event in Orlando in quite some time, years, in fact. And I am hoping to get back down there as well. So if anyone's listening, as soon as Star Wars Galaxy Edge opens, rent out the land. That's going to make for an absolutely great party at your conference. And one of the most memorable things, your attendance will be sky high. All right. That was really just selfish because I really want to get a sneak peek at that Galaxy.
I was about to say, I thought you were going to try to get yourself an invite there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because I just know that I don't want to wait online for 8 hours when that thing's open. So you know what? Some companies spend several hundreds of thousands of dollars, so I don't have to wait online. I'd appreciate it.
Nerd.
I know. I'm such a Star Wars geek. It's okay. It's all right. It's all going to be okay. All right. Number 2 on the list.
San Diego, California.
Love myself some San Diego, Jeff. Isn't this a great place for an event? I love the Gaslamp District and how close the convention center is and the overall vibe that they set for having a conference there.
You know, I really think that, and you know more about this than I do, but I would say 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, that city really put time and effort into saying, hey, we want business tourists to come here. We want meetings to come here and events to come here. And I think they did an amazing job. You know, the airport is minutes away from where you need to be. And
it is frighteningly close, that airport.
Yeah. You know, it's as far as pricing, you know, I would call it mid-tier, which is kind of crazy for California. You know, you would think that obviously California is going to be really expensive, but it doesn't have anywhere near the prices where Orange County or LA or San Francisco is going to have. And again, like you said it, the Gaslight just offers an insane amount of options for entertainment, for dining,
private parties, all that great stuff.
And again, California, great Mexican. And
now the coolest thing, though, I will say about San Diego now is they have the scooters that you could rent with an app on your phone. So you get like the Lime scooters, which I rented when I was down there for the Global Business Travel Association meeting back in August, and it's just so much fun zipping around that town on the scooters. And no, I didn't even hurt myself.
I'm amazed that you did it. You know. I've been to theme parks with you, and your idea of like a super fun extreme thing is Space Mountain. So the fact that you actually got on a scooter were you wearing pads or did you?
No, yeah. I had full. Like I was doing rollerblading. I put on the knee pads, the shin pads, the elbow pads.
Okay,
the helmet. Actually, no pads at all, which is really interesting. And I have a feeling when it comes to these scooter things, there is going to be some sort of problem when people start getting severely hurt riding their scooters in the middle of traffic and not having any protection on them. But that is an evaluation for another day. Love the sharing economy. Think that's such a clever idea. But I do need to clarify here, Jeff, because I don't want people thinking that Space Mountain, I think, is a rough ride. I go on all of the roller coasters, all of the big stuff. The only rides I don't like are things that spin around really, really fast because that makes me puke.
We waited in line for almost 2 hours to go into the haunted house at Disneyland, and you were jazzed, and I was so bored.
Okay, we didn't wait 2 hours. It was more like 20 minutes. That is not even in the category of thrill rides. That is just fun. It's very, I don't even know what to say. It's just the haunted house is just such a great coming together of all of the different things that make theme park attractions really special. But we're not talking about Orlando right now. We've been talking about San Diego. And now, Jeff, I want to know what this list thinks the number one best city is for conferences.
All right. So number one, this list and me are going to fight because I don't agree.
And I'm on the opposite side of this. So, take out your boxing gloves. Let's go to it.
All right. Number one. Are you ready? I'm going to do a little drum roll.
Yep.
San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas. Absolutely love San Antonio, Texas through the prism of being a great city for a conference. It's so conveniently located. That Riverwalk area is really designed for a great conference, mixing and mingling. People can wander around that whole thing, have lots of different experiences. It keeps people in a general vicinity all together to keep it working. And some of that food is really good that's down there. And the convention center itself is recently expanded and is absolutely beautiful. Jeff, why do you hate it?
Pretty much all the reasons why you like it.
But it's a conference city, and it's supposed to be good for conferences.
Honestly, I've never had a really good meal there, like one that stands out. I think,
dude, we went to that awesome Mexican restaurant once.
No, I mean, to me, nothing stands out. When I go to San Antonio, I never think, oh, I'm going to get a great meal, because there's just no place that's standy outy.
I mean, yeah, you're right about that.
To me, the food is bland, and it's almost like it's hotel food all throughout the city. So that is a big thing for me. I understand why you like the Riverwalk, but for me, it feels very mall-y and forced.
It is.
I know it is, but San Diego is too, and San Diego doesn't have the same forced feel that's right. San Antonio does.
I still think San Antonio's a super duper. I don't know if it's number one, but it's definitely should be on this list.
Like I said, I was fighting that San Antonio's on number one on the list. I'm not saying it shouldn't be on number 10.
Right.
To me, it's certainly not my favorite meeting city. I get why it's there. It's reasonably priced. It is centrally located. It's got, it's got enough hotels and the convention center where you can do the big meetings. It has it all. But to me, again, where San Diego said, let's attract business tourists, San Antonio did the same thing. And to me, they fall short.
All right. Fair enough. So, any final comments on convention cities? Is there maybe an honorable mention of one that we didn't discuss that you think would be a pretty good city?
I think Chicago's a great city to have a meeting. Those hotels right on the river, they are far enough away from some of the major distractions of the city that kind of keep your attendees in the area, but there's also enough entertainment and great food and reasons to be there that Chicago's a great city for a meeting as far as I'm concerned. And another thing, another city like Atlanta that has great public transportation to where you don't have to be stuck in traffic for the 30 minutes to get from O'Hare and whatnot. You can just hop on the train straight from the airport. You're there, pop out right in front of your hotel that you're having the meeting. And it's cost $4 or $5 to do that.
Yeah.
Versus, paying $100 or whatever for car service for every single attendee. I think Chicago would be my honorable mention. Seattle to me would be another honorable mention. And then, even Miami. Miami is to me a great meeting town. I understand in the metrics of this list that they probably, they did look at crime rate, and crime rate Miami maybe.
Chicago
had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But it is a great town, and I would put it on my honorable mention list.
And I would like to say I just came back from an event where was it? Lexington, Kentucky. That was a great town. I was at a Hyatt Regency that was attached to the convention center and arena, all very small, only good for a smaller size meeting, but great vibe down there in the Lexington, Louisville area. I really enjoyed that as well. I've never been to an event before in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think I'd like to do that. That was further down the list. But I also like Charlotte, North Carolina, which made the list. That city is also got a great energy to it. Very cosmopolitan downtown. A lot of banking companies down there. It just feels like a good place. It just feels good being there.
Yeah, I've done a lot of meetings in Charlotte. One thing that I wanted to say for anybody that is thinking of doing a meeting for their company or whatever, don't be afraid to step out. Lexington or Kansas City or even Denver now. All these cities have facilities to where you can you can go out and experience these great entertainment. And, who would think to do a meeting in Lexington? But again, great college town, lots of entertainment, lots of options there, food-wise. Lots of entertainment options, either visiting, a whiskey distillery, or I think you went to a horse track, right?
Oh my God, Jeff, this was so much fun. So I was at Almo. And they're the largest independent distributor of appliances, consumer electronics, professional AV equipment, furniture, and more, blah, blah, blah. They have a great business in the hospitality industry. They invited me down to speak on future hotel trends when it comes to technology to their group. And this was a fun, special event because the day that I spoke, I did my speech at 9 in the morning, at 10 in the morning. I hosted a quick panel for about 40 minutes. Then everybody changed, and we got to go to Keeneland Racetrack, which is like Churchill Downs. It's just that historic, just that important to the world of horse racing. We had a great time over there. I got invited down to the paddock, so I got really, really close to where they saddle up the horses. I was right there in the middle of the action. Then I got to walk down underneath the track out into the winner's circle and watch a race in the winner's circle. That is something I've never gotten to do before. Whether or not you love horse racing or don't love horse racing, it's special, it's different, it's memorable. It's the type of thing that will stick with conference attendees forever and ever. Plus, we got to eat dinner in a castle, which is pretty darn cool. So, that's where we are with conferences. When you're doing the conference, try to be a little bit different. Try to do something fun. Visit some of these alternative cities that we mentioned at the end. That's the way that you're going to best connect with the conference goer. Set the stage for them to have new experiences. We've all been on the road so much. I've been to Las Vegas 90 times in my life. I don't need to go back there. I want some of these fun, different places. Heck, I want to see an event in Columbus, Ohio. Okay, so after the commercial break, we got a great interview. You're going to want to stick around for that. Just remember, each and every one of us, we're vibrating with love and light. You're pulsating with love and light. We'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, Glenn here. So for the past couple of months, I've been sharing with you all the exciting things that have been going on with Red Roof. And today, I want to talk to franchisees looking to get in on the explosive growth of the extended stay segment. You know how much I love that segment. I'm really behind this segment. And Red Roof is getting behind this segment too with Hometown Studios by Red Roof. They're introducing it right now in a phased launch with over 30 properties across more than 20 markets with over $50 million in renovation. So they're betting big on these apartment-style studios that are going to offer the amenities guests really want today, such as upgraded decor, a kitchenette, full-size refrigerator, on-site laundry facilities, free Wi-Fi, of course, and more, and more, and more, all while continuing Red Roof's tradition of clean, comfortable accommodations at an unmatched value. And speaking of value, I'm pretty sure USA Today readers for the second year in a row named Red Roof the best budget hotel brand in America. So franchisees get that amazing brand awareness that customers already have, plus a seasoned management team and a richest-in-class loyalty program with more than 2.5 million members. And that just happens to be the least expensive for owners too. Man, these guys are crushing it. And that's in addition to their award-winning marketing department and a dedicated website based on their fastest in-class with mobile-first technology. Finally, with Hometown Studios by Red Roof, you'll be working with a company with a franchisee satisfaction of 94%. How great is that? And those franchisees will tell you genuine relationships, real results. It isn't just some slogan, it's how Red Roof does business. Get in on a new way to extended stay. Visit redrooffranchising.com or give them a call at 888-473-8861. That's 888-473-8861.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. You know me, I'm your host Glenn Hausman. I'm excited because for the first time in more than 2 years of hosting the No Vacancy podcast, I have finally gotten someone from Hyatt to speak to me. Now, I can't say whether or not this was a great move on my part or a really bad move on their part, but I guess we're going to find that over the next 30 minutes or so. So I want to welcome Ms. Julianne Smith. She's the SVP Development and Owner Relations for Hyatt Place and Hyatt House in North America. Julianne, how are you?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Thanks so much for having me. I can't believe it's been 2 years since you last spoke with somebody at Hyatt, so we can't let that happen again.
Yeah, no, we can't. I see this as the beginning of a beautiful and bright relationship between us. That is, unless, of course, I really make you feel horrible today doing this interview. Then I guess you'll just shun me forever. But it's all right. I'm used to that. My family does that to me anyway, so it's not really much of a change in my life.
Well, pressure's on. So
yes.
Great. I'm glad to be speaking with you today.
All right. So I think a great place to orient this is, I happen to have been a fan of Hyatt Place when the brand was first introduced. I felt that it was the first brand that really understood, and I always put it in air quotes, the lifestyle branding of hotels that were out there. Now, in the larger picture, I think all hotels have become lifestyle brands, but for the sake of this conversation, we'll call Hyatt Place a lifestyle brand. And I think it was very clever, very different, and it was the first one that I felt made an emotional connection with me as a traveler in this new generation type of property. So kudos to you on doing that, and then really rolling out by buying other brands and converting them super quick to really get that mass. So it was great to see that you had such a great, strong start to it. Now I'll let you speak for a little while, because I certainly aren't shutting up today.
Thanks, Glenn. I'm lucky enough to have been with Hyatt since 2005 when we launched Hyatt Place and then is now Hyatt House.
Oh, my God.
It's been a long time. So, we did launch off of the conversion of AmeriSuites,
Yep.
And use that room size to launch into Hyatt Place. And we were category killers at the time. There were some other brands being launched, much fewer than today, but we were able to find ourselves in a niche that Hyatt had never been in before. We hadn't been in select service. We were full service and luxury only for 50 years until that point, and we hadn't franchised. So I, along with some other folks, came together to help launch the franchising program and find the right owners and developers for this brand, which has largely been a franchise model here at Hyatt. But we were the first to have a flat panel TV in a select service brand. We had a larger than typical guest room to really accommodate that leisure guest on the weekend and also make the corporate user feel comfortable. During the week, you can work on the couch or the cozy corner, as we call it, versus sitting on your bed when you're working in your room. So we got a lot of points for having a product that really resonated with our consumers, and we've won some J.D. Power awards over the years, and also resonated with developers, a model that made sense to build. And, Hyatt had such great brand name recognition and brand equity over the 50 years where we were focused on full service and luxury that it was natural, and I wouldn't say easy, but it was, we really attracted fabulous owner-operators and developers for the brands, and that's only increased over time because our brands have been successful in the select service space in particular. We've outpaced our competitors from a RevPAR basis in the markets that we're in. I believe we're 2 years now in RevPAR growth and outperforming our competitive set. So we continue to focus on that, and that is achievable by the right locations with the right partners. We're very particular on where and with whom.
Yeah, all that makes sense. So let me step back a couple of minutes. I want to go back to this brand debuting. It was really such a seminal event for Hyatt as a corporation, really changing to make it competitive. And ever since then, I feel like every single year you've made great inroads in terms of customer awareness, in terms of really appealing to those developers that are out there, and really reinventing the company from the ground up and embracing that whole strategy of wanting to have products within different categories to take care of the customer journey, no matter where, no matter what type of stay they are looking to have at any given time. So what were those early days like, rolling out something that nobody had experienced before with Hyatt Place and such a fresh, different, interesting brand? It must have been a unique challenge for you in your career.
It was, and I was with one of our competitors when I left to join Hyatt that had proven brands in their system on the select service side,
right.
And we were embarking in this new journey. I felt really good about the choice in brand name. Hyatt is forefront, right? Hyatt Place. Now Hyatt House. At the time, it was Hyatt Summerfield Suites, but Hyatt was
totally. And
right
I'm sorry
there.
to interrupt you because, like all the other brands, they started adding by hotel company name afterwards at some point. But you guys were straight up with doing that to create that association in the consumer mindset.
the brand name punches above its weight, really. We've got 800 hotels worldwide today. When I joined in 2005, we had about 270 hotels, full service and luxury across the world. I couldn't believe it because the company I had left had 10 times the number of hotels and the same amount of brand name recognition globally. We did a really good job of growing in primary markets here in North America, but also overseas. We opened our first hotel in Asia in the late 1960s, which was about 10 years after we opened our first Hyatt-branded hotel at LAX through an acquisition in the 1950s. So we grew international and domestic in parallel. So we became a global brand name before really anybody else did. So that was important. So when I came on board, you know, it was selling the dream, right? We had a PowerPoint and an idea of what Hyatt Place would look like on paper. We had all these AmeriSuites hotels in varying degrees of success, let's say, and condition. And we had this idea to convert all these hotels into something that was much more upscale than the existing AmeriSuites portfolio was. So our first conversion was the Hyatt Place in Lombard, right outside of Chicago, which is where we're based. And we toured, I think, everybody in the country and beyond through that hotel so you could see what we did to transform AmeriSuites over to Hyatt Place. So there was a lot of, initially, before we had that hotel converted, it took about a year after we launched the brand to get that done and perfected. We were selling the dream. We were selling what we believe select service should look like, how it would fit within Hyatt, and then we were convincing owners that these are going to be successful hotels. We did own a lot of those at the time, so we could invest our own capital and really focus on making sure that the product was right before we rolled it out to a franchise offering. But it didn't take long.
Right. I feel, Julianne, that I'm a little fuzzy on the facts because it was 13 years ago now, and I seriously can't remember yesterday too well. Although I think it was a little humid outside. I will say though, I think you bought the portfolio and it was 120 something properties or something like that. Does that make sense?
That is what we ended up converting, but the portfolio is actually 145 or 147.
Some properties just could not be utilized in a Hyatt as a Hyatt Place, right? Okay.
Exactly. The franchise owners felt, hey, this market isn't going to support what you're doing. We can't get the rate that makes sense for Hyatt Place, so they converted out of the system, and it was all very amicable. Yeah. Lots of long conversations, but that's the nature of what happens when you acquire a brand. So 120 of them did convert to Hyatt Place. And at the time we owned 45 and we managed another 60. So we controlled the conversion of 105 of those hotels. Right. And then once the conversions were done and we cycled through those hotels and sold them over time.
Yeah. Now, what I loved about what you folks did in that particular plan is that it really, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, really helped create that sense of awareness because so many properties debuted within a short period of time. And I think it's allowed other brands since then to kind of have great, strong launches that aren't affiliated with you. But as far as Hyatt Place goes, I think that really worked in terms of capturing the consumers so they would understand who you are. And I think it really elevated the system. And my guess is it probably also gave you a leg up with the future franchisees because they saw so many properties were already in development in the immediate pipeline.
Yeah, the number one reason why we got into select service was growing in markets where our consumers were going. Right. We were losing, at the time is Hyatt Gold Passport, now it's World of Hyatt. We were losing our World of Hyatt member to the competitors because we just didn't have an option. And as you well know, you're not going to build a 1,000-room Hyatt Regency or a 300-room luxury Park Hyatt in a lot of markets, particularly in the U.S., where the high-end traveler is still going, right? That's what we cater towards is the high-end traveler. So this Hyatt Place model really satisfies that World of Hyatt customer with a product that is affordable and makes sense to build in markets that have rate ceilings.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because you're able to create that more upscale feeling product in a market that can support that product, but like you said, not something that's farther up the chain scale. So great, real smart. Tell me a little about then where Hyatt House comes into the story, and then we'll get into all of the changes that you guys are making now to keep it contemporary.
Sure. Well, in that same year, we bought a brand called Summerfield Suites.
Yep.
At the time, there was just over 20, right?
Yep.
Remember those?
I feel like I went to a Summerfield Suites, my first ever business trip, which was to the Atlanta Olympics in 1996. But I'm not 100% sure of that. So I do have a bit of affection for Summerfield Suites. So it's good to know it's being taken care of in a different form.
Glenn, you're dating yourself.
I know. I have to date myself because no one else is going to date me. Sorry.
So yeah, we bought Summerfield. That had about 20 hotels.
Yep.
Then a couple years later, and we started developing those, right?
Yeah.
Hyatt Summerfield Suites in new builds. And Summerfield was a great collection of upscale, extended stay hotels in great locations, and we really drafted off of the success that brand had. And then in 2011, we bought Hotel Sierra. And we had the opportunity to step back and think about what we were doing in the extended stay space. What we wanted to do was really capture a consumer that was focused on known for F&B. We do it well, if I could say so myself.
You can.
And Hyatt House. Yeah, so our extended stay in Summerfield, we were giving away a manager's reception, and we had a free complimentary breakfast in the morning. Great points on the breakfast, not a lot of great points from the consumer on the evening offering. So we took a hint from what Hotel Sierra was doing and created a bar concept we call the H Bar that has items for purchase, small plates and beverage for purchase.
Right.
To satisfy what the guest actually wants, right? They might not want the free beer or the free spaghetti. What they really want is a burger or a martini or whatever it is they drink at home normally or when they're out. So we recreated and repositioned ourselves in the extended stay segment and launched Hyatt House. And the neat little fact about that is Hyatt House was the original brand name, right? The Pritzkers bought the Hyatt House at LAX in 1957.
Oh, my goodness, you're right.
And that was
totally
the first
forgot.
hotel.
Yes, that's so
yeah.
cool.
And then we, within 10 years or so, that became Hyatt Regency, and
Right.
Hyatt House was shelved. But we brought that brand name back to life, and now that's our extended stay brand name. So it was a little bit of a consolidation of a couple of brands we bought with Summerfield and Hotel Sierra, and then new builds. And our total number of hotels open today is about 90, and I would say about a third of that base is in the executed, reported pipeline. Deals that are signed,
Right.
getting ready to start construction. So we've got some nice growth on that side. It is an upper scale extended stay brand, so we're not going to make sense for every market. It's not the cheapest to build. We're going after that high-end traveler. So in markets that it makes sense to build, we're getting some great traction on the brand, and we've got great marks from the consumer on that side as well. And I've also won some J.D. Powers awards over the years.
Yeah, and one of my favorite statistics that are out these days is Lodging Econometrics says that the new hotel construction pipeline, 27% of it are extended stay hotels. So this is a very important aspect of the hospitality industry right now. What is your opinion on the extended stay market in general, and then a little more color on the upscale extended stay market?
Sure. So, the eds and meds markets really drive.
Oh, I never heard that before. I love that.
Yeah. So, you've got your Mayo clinics, you've got your big universities, your Penn States, and so forth that really drive a nice extended stay business. You've got visiting professors on the college side. You've got your traveling physicians or teaching physicians on the medical side, and we have the opportunity to kind of own that space in a lot of these markets where we don't have any product, and we're putting our first Hyatt, let's say, in some of those markets. So half of the business is 5 or more nights, right? So if you're staying somewhere 5 or more nights, you want a little bit of space. You want the ability to have a kitchen or a kitchenette at your disposal and spread out a little bit. So that's one thing. The second thing is, as we're competing in, companies that are disrupting our business like Airbnb or VRBO, we are seeing that consumers are wanting to have more of a residential experience when they're traveling, and Hyatt House absolutely satisfies that, and there's other extended stay brands out there that do that as well. But you have the safety of the hotel experience. You've got the brand promise, so you know that you're going to be in a safe location. You're going to be able to get 24-hour services like the ability to grab a snack or a water or whatever it is. So I see that very much being a growth vehicle for us in the industry, and particularly us here at Hyatt, as we have a large open road for growth on that side.
Yeah, you sure do, especially as that market continues to take off. Now, since you launched Hyatt Place in 2005, the world has changed in a big time. I mean, the internet was there, but it wasn't as pervasive in every single moment of our lives, for example, and other avenues of technology has really changed. Plus, what we experience with design at a hotel level is really starting to change as well. So in time for the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference back in June, you announced that next generation of hotels for Hyatt Place. So I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that, what the positioning is in terms of the look and feel and texture of the brand, and how you feel that it relates better to guests today.
Sure. So at a company level, so across all brands, we're making a big investment and focus on well-being. That's extremely important to us. We bought Miraval last year. On the heels of that, we bought Exhale, which is really a luxury fitness and spa business. It's not in the hotel space.
No, but they are located in hotels and outside of hotels. And what I like about Exhale is you're encouraging the locals to come in and participate if you have an Exhale within the hospitality in the hotel environment. So that's a great way, I think, of generating a community business for the property. But we'll get into that. Let's go back to the Hyatt Place. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, you can't walk through a drugstore these days without seeing like a wellness section. It's a big topic and crosses all demographics, right? It's not just a, high-end experience. It's also a middle market experience or a select service experience. So what we're doing with Hyatt Place is we're integrating Exhale into the hotels. And what that'll mean is we'll be able to pull up an Exhale workout video or meditation practice or something like that on the TV. We're engaging the well-being segment in Exhale through World of Hyatt. So World of Hyatt's going to grow in not just a distribution standpoint from a hotel space point of view, but it's going to grow in a different way. We just launched a partnership with small luxury hotels, right? You can earn and burn beginning, I believe, December 1st with that collection of hotels. No, they're not Hyatt branded. They're not on our, reservation system per se. But you'll be able to connect with them. You'll be able to earn and burn throughout the globe, and that portfolio primarily is in Europe today. But I'm digressing. Back to well-being, we're also focusing on the food offering, right? So the evening offering is going to be a little bit more upscale, locally sourced foods. We've had this phrase that we've kicked around for a long time on the full-service side called food thoughtfully sourced, carefully served. So we're implementing that on the Hyatt Place side as well. So you'll be able to get local beers, craft cocktails, some locally inspired foods as well in the hotel. And that's all available for purchase.
Right. And, I think on a broader issue, I think that really plays into what customers are looking for. Because the last thing I want to do if I'm in the Deep South, for example, is just be served like chicken nuggets and pizza. Because that's not really reflective of where I am. And it adds so much texture to how we want to stay in hotels these days. And I think by having those local foods, those local beverages, that feel and sense of the locality really adds another layer and a dimension to the stay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And back to the F&B, we're also changing breakfast. We're focusing on sort of a less is more concept where we have really great food items, but not 25 different items, right? It's hard-boiled eggs with the shell on it. It's really great, sustainably grown bacon. I said that wrong. It's not sustainably grown. Can we?
Yeah. Let me back that up. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. So after I clap, wait like 2 seconds, then go. Okay, go for it.
We have, hard-boiled eggs with the shell on it. We've got a great egg product for the morning, and then also bacon that is all natural. So all these things our consumers are asking for. Another big change we're doing is we're going to charge for it unless you're a World of Hyatt member, right? We want to increase our engagement with our World of Hyatt consumers, and part of that is giving them benefits, right? If you are a frequency member with any program, you want benefits. So a better breakfast for free for our World of Hyatt consumers is something we're launching beginning November 1st. So if you're not a World of Hyatt member, you've got to pay, but come join us, sign up, and you'll be able to get this great new breakfast that we'll be offering.
I like that. I bet you're going to get a lot of people signing up for the program in the morning, and thereby you hope to create better, deeper engagement with the customers as well over time.
Absolutely.
All right. So go on.
The other piece on well-being is we have relaunched our credit card, which has been a great growth vehicle for us on growth of World of Hyatt, and we're providing additional bonus points for money spent on fitness or other well-being type of spending. So, we're all in on the well-being side.
Yeah, I think you're really smart to do that. And here on the No Vacancy podcast, we talked a lot about the wellness and well-being kind of thing. So for those of you listening, take a look back in the catalog of shows. You're going to see plenty of wellness. And if you listen to a lot of those shows, you'll understand why it's important and how to start to put together a program that makes sense, that focuses on wellness initiatives. So this is really interesting that you're bringing in this wellness thing and then offering like preferred privileges and rates for Exhale, for example. So you're doing cross-branding between the different companies while also helping to hopefully accentuate people's lives and incorporating the Hyatt kind of ethos within all of that. Pretty cool. But what's going on at Hyatt Place in terms of the guest rooms and the bathrooms? How are you changing that to appeal more towards this now we're moving deep into the 21st century traveler type of personality?
Yeah, I have to say that the Hyatt Place room has gotten great points from our consumers. So we didn't want to change it too dramatically because all of the pieces that we have in that room have been appreciated, right? So we still have the cozy corner sofa. We still have the divider panel between the bed. We are going with a much larger TV, 65 inches, because that's just where the world is headed. Yeah. When we first launched the brand, I think it was 37 inches, and that was huge. Now it's almost twice as big. Wow. So that's just, I know, it's incredible. So that'll be in there. The room's a tad more narrow to be a little bit more development friendly. As cost of construction rise, cost per square foot is on the rise. We want to be able to make sure that we're developing something that people can afford to build, right? So we've shaved a little bit more square footage by making our furniture sizes a little bit more efficient, but it doesn't take away from the feeling of the room that our guests have grown to appreciate. There's a couple things in the bathroom we're changing that just haven't had great consumer feedback. Our vanity, for example, was too far away from the mirror. People couldn't see themselves as well as they'd like, so we shrunk that down a little bit. The sliding glass door was translucent, and people didn't like that you could see the light in the middle of the night if they were sharing the room with a spouse or whomever. So little modifications there, nothing major, just all based on consumer feedback. And then the other piece is we'll have an option for luxury vinyl tile in the guest room. Carpet gets a bad rap from the consumers, right? It could be brand new carpet, but there's still a feeling that the carpet is not clean. So luxury vinyl tile is something I think the entire industry is going towards.
Agreed.
And we're excited to capture that as well. So that'll be an option in the guest room.
And I will say,
again, it goes back to well-being.
Yeah, I do want to say that when it goes back to the operationals point for all of you franchise folks out there, it takes less time for the housekeeping department to clean that floor than it does for carpeting. So that's a good operational issue as well as the customer satisfier. So I think that's that dual both sides of it is really what's helping bring LVT on mainstream now. And I think within 5 years we're going to see it everywhere. But Julianne, please continue.
Yeah, it lasts longer as well. So I think there's a lot of pluses on that side. So we've added in the new Hyatt Place prototype, we've added about 8 rooms to the total square footage. Without expanding the size of the hotel. We still have a 6-story prototype, but we're also doing 4-story. And then, of course, a large portion of our pipeline is urban and mixed use. So we've got, high-rise and mid-rise construction as well.
Excellent. That's perfect. Wow. So you've been up to a whole lot of stuff. So right now you've got lots and lots of brands. You're very focused on these, but of course the company's got Park Hyatt, Miraval, Grand Hyatt, Hyatt Regency, regular Hyatt, Andaz, Hyatt Centric, the Unbound Collection by Hyatt, Hyatt Place, Hyatt House, Hyatt Ziva, Hyatt Zilara, Hyatt Residence Club, and of course Exhale, which we talked about. That's a whole lot of brands, and I think it represents a nice cross-section of the ways that people want to stay in different ways and different places. And I think that's one of the reasons why Hyatt's doing so well. I did want to say that I'm a big fan of the luxury brands and the Park Hyatt Shanghai. The first time I went there, I believe you check in at like the 80th floor or something like that. Is incredible, spectacular to check in all the way up there in the sky at like cloud level. Pretty cool.
Yeah, the Park Hyatt here in Chicago is one of my favorite hotels. I think we've really nailed it on the luxury side. And, we made a big investment in the Park Hyatt in New York by developing that hotel.
Yep.
And it's a landmark and an iconic brand and collection of hotels. So we're super excited about that.
So, Julianne, how did you get started in the hospitality industry?
I worked for a small construction company on the West Coast just a couple years out of college and learned about, real estate development and that side of the business. I have a liberal arts degree from Boston University, so I didn't even know hotel development was a thing.
Right.
I'd never worked in a hotel either. I have some F&B experience, bartending my way through college. But I learned about it through working for a construction company, and at the time I wanted to work for a bigger organization and learn more about real estate development. And there were 2 jobs posted on Monster.com because in the late 90s, that's how you looked for jobs.
Yes.
And one hiring company in Orange County, where I was living in California, was a restaurant franchise organization. The other was a hotel organization. And I happened to get the job with the hotel company and worked there for a few years before being recruited over to Hyatt. So I've always been on the development side, and really these days it's more business development from what I focus on than true real estate development. But it's an exciting part of the business because you get to work on hotels years before they are actually open and operating hotels. Here in Chicago, I'm super excited about a Hyatt House that's under construction in the West Loop. That's going to be at McDonald's new headquarters here in the city. It's just going to be an iconic hotel and our first Hyatt House in Chicago. We've got one out in Evanston, but not here in the Loop. So I'm excited about that. I got to work on that way before McDonald's headquarters was even under construction, right? So those are the types of things that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I love it. So what's next for you? Are you going to stick around with this gig for a while, or do you want to just tell us you're going to shuffle around like everybody else in the industry is right now?
I've been here almost 13 years. I guess it'll be 13 years in December. Hyatt's an amazing company. They've got such a rich culture here that I've not seen at other companies. Even the predecessor I was with, it just doesn't have the same culture. I mean, the person I report to and the executive team, they've all been here a really long time, like 25, 30, 35 years. And the company's evolved so much, right? I watched it become a consolidated organization between our international company, our domestic company, our select service organization. I watched it go public. I've seen it go from 270 hotels to more than 800. I see us focusing on relevant growth like Miraval and Exhale and who knows what's next. Mm-hmm. So I've been pretty entertained being here at Hyatt, so I don't see myself leaving, and my family and I love Chicago and they don't want another move, so I think I'm here for
all
a
right.
while.
So then I've got probably the hardest question that I'm going to ask you today, so strap in for this. Why do they call it deep dish pizza and not a casserole?
Well, let me tell you, I'm from New Jersey, so I have no idea. Okay. Nobody makes pizza like the Jerseys, right? So,
well, I'm a New York guy, so
I'm
totally on the same page with you for our pizza. I think the people in your neighborhood, they're posers with the pizza thing, but I do love myself a good deep dish pizza. I just don't like waiting 4 hours for them to cook it.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. One thing we do well here, though, is sausage. I mean, you want to come and have some great Polish sausage, and the steakhouses here are better than anywhere else in the country. The food scene is pretty off the charts. So it's a great city in that way, but no pizza.
Right. So
pizza.
Let me just add another little bit of texture. The reason why Chicago has such great steakhouses is because the stockyards used to be there, right? And that's where all the cattle used to be, and it was like really close to the source. So Chicago grew up as a great steak eating town, I believe. Julianne, I think we're at the point now where I ask you, hey, is there anything I missed that you want to get out there?
Hey, I'd love for everybody just to keep their eyes open for hotels that are coming up. We just opened a Hyatt House in Orlando Universal. It's a beautiful hotel. Hyatt Place in downtown Milwaukee. We've got a couple of other notable openings. Our first Hyatt Place in downtown San Francisco. Our first Hyatt Place in Calgary at the airport. We have a Hyatt Place opening in Santa Barbara, which is a very difficult place to develop, and that's coming up first quarter next year. So keep an eye out for our product, and if you haven't experienced it, please stay with us. I think you'll never go back to the competitors if you stay with a Hyatt Place or Hyatt House.
Excellent. I absolutely love it. And how about a good shameless plug? How could we find you if somebody wants to make a deal with you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're on HyattDevelopment.com. I've got a team of developers dispersed throughout North America and focused on the markets that they represent. So check us out on HyattDevelopment.com.
Excellent. I love it. And Julianne, thank you so much for being here. What a fun conversation that was. I had a great time learning all about Hyatt Place, Hyatt House, and what the company is up to right now. And for all you listeners out there, remember, extended stay, wellness, these are the trends that you need to be thinking of right now as you continue along in your hospitality career or if you're developing hotels. So, again, thanks to Julianne, and I'll be back next week unless, of course, I decide to go go to Chicago and wait for a deep dish pizza. Thanks, and see you all next time.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.